Hello, and good morning. I'm just happy to be here to support the families that are behind us and to talk about this issue. So first, I just wanted to speak to the appropriateness of the actual policy. I work in special education, as many people know, and I worked many, many years ago in early childhood. And so I wanted to speak a little bit to, the benefit of having more time for children to stay in early care, especially when it comes to meeting their developmental needs. So if a student has, speech therapy, occupational therapy that they're getting in pre-K, pre-K usually allows more flexibility to give those services rather than kindergarten. And so the benefit, the long-term benefit of keeping children in early care longer stands, and I support that. But I wanted to speak to we know the lack of availability for seats in early care, in pre-K. And we've spoken a little bit about parents that, let's say you have your child already in a pre-K and you have to pull them out. But also there's a lot of parents that choose to stay home because they cannot afford it. It is cheaper to not work than to actually work and pay for childcare, right? I was one of those parents when my children were young. I didn't work and I was with my children at home. So I think of those parents who now have to stay one more year at home with that 5-year-old, right? And that also is a disservice to the parent, and it is a disservice to the child who is now getting a year at home with, again, no opportunities. And so I think the conversation right now is also important to have is the availability for early care and more seats that we need. I know in my town of Windsor, we have a early care program in our public school system that has a total of 60 seats, and so the conversation that we also should be having and hopefully can start having when we're talking about this is the need for expanding pre-K and expanding pre-K options for families. So for right now, I think having just the 1 year, and actually most parents probably don't even know that this is coming, having that 1 year notice that your child will not actually be able to start in September if they have a later birthday, is a disservice to families. Not only the families that have the kids in pre-K, but the families that can't afford to have their kids in pre-K that know that they might not be able to work. I have friends that, they stayed home, and when I remember they would be waiting until, that magic date for their child to start kindergarten so they could start working. And now to be told that, no, actually you can't work just yet, you got to wait another year because of this. So I think allowing parents more time for them to create a plan. Most people know that when you have a baby, you're already planning for your next 5 years, especially if you are a single parent, you're planning how your work life is going to be for the next 5 years until that child starts full day kindergarten. And now that plan has changed for a lot of people. So I think implementation wise, we definitely need something to figure out how to delay that start date, at least for a year, to allow parents more time. I would have liked for us to done it so that we gave it a 5-year later implementation date. So babies that were born that year, parents would know that year that my child, if they're born after September, is not going to start. Because I know parents plan the moment their baby is born that what they're going to do when their child is until that child is 5. And so I'm glad to be here, and I look forward to this session, us working together to craft something that helps families, all families, working families, parents that can't work, to keep this policy, but to figure out how to implement it better. Thank you.